Welcome to another episode of Beyond Four Walls, and today I have an exceptional guest joining me, Michael Jacobs, a Chartered Surveyor with over 30 years of experience in the property industry. As the Managing Director of the award-winning managing agent Michael Laurie Magar, which he established in 2000, Michael has been a transformative figure in property management. Michael's impressive career includes serving as the former chairman of ARMA, where he led the organisation through the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic and the significant merger with IRPM. His commitment to excellence is further exemplified by his role as TPI Executive Board member and leader of the TPI Environmental and Social Working Group, focusing on wellbeing in the industry. And in this episode, I'll talk to Michael about his personal experiences, including the challenges he faced with bullying at school and his journey navigating life as a neurodivergent individual with ADHD and dyslexia. We'll also explore his unique path into property management, influenced by his childhood spent on building sites in South Africa, where his father designed and built houses. Welcome, Michael. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, if you don't mind, could you start by sharing your experience about bullying in school and how it shapes you as a person?
Oh, crikey, that was an awful long time ago. How has it shaped me? It was really in two forms. It was physical and it was mental. And actually, for me, the bullying side of it toughened me up. But it was a problem. And I think part of the ADHD side of it brought the bullying side out as well from others. You had to get tough with it. I mean, it used to be that you'd run out of school, run home, and not want to be in school. And it took years before I was moved into another school. And it changed from the physical to the mental. And then as you get older, you slightly mature, and it stopped. But it did leave scars, but it made life a little bit more difficult, and you just had to really tough it out, because it's not like it is today.
No.
You had to get on with things, and actually I think that shaped part of what and who I am, and how I deal with other people, especially the employees I've got in the firm that I've got now. It's made it a slightly softer approach to how we deal with our staff.
Well, that's brilliant to hear, because I was also bullied in school. It went on for years, again, both physical and mental. And you said a second ago that it wasn't a scar as such, but I do have physical and mental scars from it, and it is something that it does ultimately come into your personal life, in your home life, in your work life, and everything. So
the physical heals. The mental, that takes a lot longer.
Yeah.
A lot longer, and sometimes it doesn't. For me, it was just pushed to the back of the mind, and you move on, and you get a very thick skin. I'm sure for others they have a different experience.
And having a young daughter myself now, I think that's probably one of the most difficult parenting things. If you've been through it, you don't want your child to then go through any sort of bullying. So I'm kind of dreading if she has to go through it. She's only 4 at the moment and only just started school. So I'm dreading the day that she comes home and says that there's a problem. But hopefully she'll be okay.
Well, I was really lucky. My 2 kids are twins. So if they picked on one, they picked on 2. Oh. And so they got through it that way. Yeah. Not that they had a problem, but
they had each other.
I didn't have a twin.
Yeah. So how did you cope with those experiences of bullying during school? I know you said that you just had to get on with it, but are there any strategies that helped you potentially?
To be honest, I haven't thought about the bullying for years. And really coming into this is, well, how did the bullying shape what I am? How did I cope with it? It got to 3:30 and I ran. It got to a point where it was as bad as it got, and no one had done anything about it. As I said, we're living in different times in the 70s than there is today. And it was the case of new school. And the physical stopped, but some of the mental carried on. And I had a support network around me. And I think that was really important. Very important. It's the only way to deal with it. There wasn't social media, so it's not like today. And so it was a much easier thing to cope with. When I got home and I closed that front door, it was fine. I was in a safe zone. Today, there's no safe zone. It's coming through you and at you at all angles.
I mean, I completely get that. As soon as I was at home with my parents, and that was my safe place. The bell goes at school and you just run as fast as you can to get home. I think I was even let out a few times 5 minutes before the bell so I could get home. Rather than the teachers actually protecting me, I was just let out to go early.
Well, at some points it got as bad as, well, I wasn't there. In the afternoons, I wouldn't be at school. I'd get out well beforehand. They didn't take a second register, and you could go and then no one cared.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, at the worst points, it was I wasn't there because I knew that at the end of the day, outside of the school grounds, I'd be caught. So I'd go. I wouldn't be at school.
Oh, it's such a horrible experience, and thank you for talking about it. I'm sure it'll help others to know that you've got through it.
You do get through it. You can get through it. There is a lot of help out there, whether you're being bullied at school, whether you're being bullied in the workplace. There are outlets, there are people there now that will help. It's not like it was.
Yeah.
And to sit and suffer in silence is not the answer anymore.
Well, some good advice there. But you've also spoken in the past about being neurodivergent with ADHD and dyslexia. How has that influenced your approach to your career in property management?
It's completely shaped it. If I was, I'm going to say normal, I know it's the wrong word, but if I wasn't on a spectrum and I wasn't ADHD or dyslexic, I wouldn't be sitting here running my own firm. I'm convinced of that. I'd fit into the mould. The brief history is really simple. I was diagnosed. I mean, I don't even think ADHD was a diagnosable condition back in the 70s, but I was hyperactive to the point that it was destructive in a classroom. And the simple answer in South Africa was, oh, we'll just pop him a pill, give him Ritalin, that will calm him down.
Right.
Which it did. And I remember it very clearly. You couldn't see the wood for the trees. You were 1 minute normal and the next minute you were just completely subdued. That went on for ages. Emigrated here. The sharp intake of breath. When it was, yes, he's on Ritalin, can we please have another prescription? And the answer was no, don't prescribe it to children.
Oh, gosh.
And so I went from almost being able to concentrate to complete hyperactive. And that went right the way through till I was 16.
Right.
And it was then no concentration, and then my brain fires off in all different directions. I know people that don't have ADHD can't quite understand, but my brain will work differently to other people's. But if I had fitted into the mould of normal, I would have had a very different career. Or if I'd have done surveying, it would have been with one of the firms in the West End, and I'd have had a very different career. Given that I'm not in that mould, it's actually allowed me, believe it or not, to run my own firm. I would never have done it otherwise. I'm convinced of that.
Okay. And do you think it's better that you've done it on your terms ultimately, rather than being employed by somebody?
I couldn't do it on anyone else's terms. I tried it.
No.
I did work in the West End for a year, and then went to work in the city as an agent. I couldn't work for anyone. No. They don't get it. When I was doing my training, my boss, who was one of the best surveyors that I've ever come across in terms of his knowledge as a rating surveyor, couldn't quite get the fact that I'd get the same types of results he did, doing it my way, which wasn't his way, and he didn't like it. And then I went to work for somebody else, and the same thing happened. And then I thought, actually, I don't fit in this corporate mould. And very early on, I went out on my own, which worked.
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs have ADHD from the research I've done because of that very reason.
You can't fit into a corporate mould, and you go off and do your own thing. And actually, now that I'm running a firm with 40, 50 odd staff and hundreds of buildings, and you've got a million different things happening, the way my brain works, it just fits into that pattern. The only way to describe it from someone that doesn't have it is, in my book, is if you're running 100 metres and you are on a normal spectrum, you'll run in a straight line and you'll get to the end quite happily. If you've got ADHD, you'll zigzag all the way through 8 rows of running people. You'll bash into them. You'll do something else. You'll stop. You'll throw a javelin. You'll come back. Your brain just fires off in different directions. It doesn't work in a straight line. Sometimes it has its advantages, and sometimes it's such a pain. The dyslexia is complicated. Just writing what I call normal English is complicated. I have to reread it 100 times. And actually, the AI that now works with ChatGPT writes English so much better than I do.
Yeah. And I suppose if you're distracted because of your ADHD, then coming back to writing whatever you were writing and having the struggles with dyslexia.
Impossible.
It's
Impossible. I find long meetings very difficult. My attention span can be tiny, absolutely tiny, and then I'm on to other things. So I'll half finish things and then go on to other bits. And the way I try to control some of that is to actually chunk my time out, physically say, right, this hour I'm going to do this, switch everything else off and just finish a project. This hour I'm going to do that.
Just
and
one thing at a time.
That's how I try and order my work, my working week. But yeah, these two-hour meetings, I'm done and dusted in half an hour if I can be.
Well, I've been in, I mean, they've only been Zoom calls, but I've been in meetings with you and you're like, right, on to the next, come on. and I like that. It's great, you know.
It has its place because it stops people sitting and yakking for ages. When actually you can do it in 2 minutes. But actually sometimes it does need a lot more thought behind a direction that you're trying to go in. And so I do, from my senior team, I do get pulled back. Hang on, have you thought about this? No, I've made the decision on that. Yeah, but think about this, think about the other. And then I'll have to go away and think about it. But yeah, I am very quick off the draw to get onto the next thing.
I guess that's why you need your senior team as well. Keeps
grounded.
all grounded, and different personalities bring different.
I'm the first one to admit I'm not always right on things, and sometimes a second view on what you're trying to do, especially strategically within a firm or other things, whatever it may be. Yeah, I'm very happy. I think someone once said, you need to employ people that are better than you. So
good advice.
That's pretty much what I try to do. It's difficult.
Well, you know, who could possibly be better than you, Michael?
No. It's only, but genuinely getting people that are better than you to sit and provide advice back to you actually works very well for me.
Yeah, I like that. So in terms then of starting your career in property management, I think you're probably the only person that I know who actually chose a path.
I chose a path in property. I didn't choose a path in property management. I'm one of the people that fell into it.
I think everybody technically fell into it.
Well, these days, a lot of the guys that are coming in want to come into property management, but people that are 10 years plus probably fell into it for the most part.
Because nobody really knows what it is. I think more people know what it is now because everything in the press and, you know, the Leasehold Reform Acts and ground rent reform and, you know, everything that's going on politically. I think more people are aware of it. But as you say, 10, 20 years ago, nobody knew what block management was then. Not really.
It was always the poor relation. Nobody wanted to do it, but it kind of had to be done. I came back 10 plus years. But that's changed. Given the last post-Grenfell, clearly a different world. It's just more difficult. It doesn't mean you can't find the job satisfaction out of it. Yes, the leaseholders are complicated, or they can be extremely complicated. But there is job satisfaction out there. There are young people that are coming into the industry that really want to make a difference, and it's about trying to nurture them without burning them out or allowing leaseholders with their frustrations to burn them out. You know, the post-COVID world we live in isn't going back to what it was pre-COVID. We're living in a world where people are scared generally out there, whether it's the economy, whether it's their job, whether it's wages. And that feeds through into, you've just sent me a bill for service charge, and suddenly they'll launch at you. Well, they won't launch at me, but they'll launch at the guys out there. Very unfair. Again, with all my experiences, being able to support the staff the way we do means that our turnover staff is fairly low. We lose like everybody else, and it's really upsetting when people that are really good said, I've had enough. I've just had enough. I know what's coming. I know what's there. I don't want to be involved with the risk. I'm off. I'm going to go do spread betting, or I'm going to go and set up my own firm cleaning carpets and cleaning bills. That's a real shame. But there's nothing we can do about that at the higher level. At the lower level, they tend to stay for a while because they don't quite realise what's going on some of them, to be fair. But we try and help them as much as we can. And that's part of what I'm doing with the ESG group, which I'm sure you'll come on to in a minute, about the wellbeing charter that we're doing and.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I fell into it.
Yeah. So did your father's work in building houses, did that impact your interest?
Yeah, I always wanted property. Property
Okay.
was always there. The route that it took changed. I wanted to be an electrician
Okay.
and a plumber. I'd seen them do it badly,
Yeah.
and I thought I can do this better. And then when I got to a point of failing all my O levels, I thought, right, plumbing, that's it, electrician, here we come. And then they said, just give it 6 months, resit. And because of that hard edge that I have, it was, okay, well, I've passed the O levels now. Well, let's see if I can finish the A levels. Well, actually, hang on, maybe I can go to university. And the minute I went to university, well, I wasn't going to be a plumber or an electrician.
Right.
And the university wasn't going to be to become an accountant or a lawyer, because I just wasn't for me. I didn't want to sit there and count beans all day, and I didn't want to sit in court all day. And then I became a surveyor, and then I got into property management. And what do I do all day? I'm either representing clients at FTTs or I'm looking at accounts. But that was my journey. It went, I will push myself as hard as I can. And it was, finish the degree, well, I better become a chartered surveyor. And then we bought some buildings. And then clients kept saying, well, I've got problems with my buildings. And I kept saying, well, hang on a minute, it's not that difficult. We can deal with that.
Yeah.
That was 30 years ago. The landscape's changed.
A little bit.
Section 20s are now in place.
Absolutely.
High-rise buildings are now in place, and the legislation, it's become a different playing field. But we adapt and we move on. I remember when Section 20 came in, everyone, henny penny, the world's going to fall in. But actually, we've all got used to it. Fire safety's come in. Yes, it's a huge difference. Yes, we need to be recompensed for the work that we're doing. Yes, it's got more difficult. But I think we need to train. We need to upskill.
Yeah.
And move with the times.
And it will become part of the norm, like Section 20s are.
It will become the norm.
Yeah.
And then, but then the next thing will come along, and the next thing will come along, which is fine. But we have to upskill our staff. We have to be able to pay our staff as well. And I think that leaseholders need to understand just exactly what we do. We as an industry do not sell ourselves well enough to say, actually, you know, that fee that we charge, this is what it does.
Yeah.
This is what it entails. This is how much input we and everybody else in our company has to do for that £300, £400, £500 a unit. You know, everyone talks about the problems that we have where we need extras to make ends meet. We need commission on insurance. We need to charge X for packs. We do that because our base fee is just not good enough to support the proper type of service that we still want to deliver. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
And until we have a grown-up conversation about fees, apparently we're not allowed to, but when we do, and if we do, there's lots of charging models we can use which are reasonable and are fair and are good for the consumer. And I'm finding more and more that consumers will pay for a service, but it's chicken and egg. You have to deliver it almost first before you can turn around and say, actually, I've proved this is what you can get. Now pay me properly. It is chicken and egg on some of them.
I know with some of the developments that I've managed in the past, we've put in like an introductory fee. So it's like, I guess it's a little bit like, well, we'll do it a little bit more cost effective. I won't say cheaper, more cost effective for the first 6 months, prove ourselves, and then we'll put in the fee to this. What do you think of that?
Everyone can have their own way of doing it. There shouldn't be one way of doing it, but I find what tends to happen is you tend to get mission creep. You're instructed to manage X, and by the time you've finished and you're a year or two into it, you're doing Y. That Y is your profit margin. That's gone. And I'm quite happy to set my stall out at the beginning and say, actually, we are the best in the business. We can offer this, 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 and this, but you need to pay for it. I may relent on a setup fee and I may relent on this fee, but the base fee, what you get for that fee is all of these services. I won't relent on that. Problem is, if we're not regulated, regulation comes at a cost. And the people that aren't regulated can undercut us all the time.
Yeah.
But I think the more discerning RMCs out there are understanding that they should be paying for service. Some will always ask for price. But then do we really want to be managing those buildings?
Well, yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because you've got, you know, the smaller companies. It's a little bit like, well, if you need it because you need to pay your staff or something like that, then you need every block that comes your way.
I've been there.
If you can be a little bit more selective, I guess, when you're bigger.
We've been there. We've gone through that pain barrier.
Yeah, of course.
And we are now in a position where we can say, actually, do we want to manage that? actually, is it going to be just a drain on our resource where everything else is suffering? Actually, we'll pass on that.
Yeah.
It is difficult, but it's so satisfying when you get to the first one and you say, actually, I'm going to pass. That's a brilliant feeling.
I bet it is, actually. But, you can also think that you could have a development that pays you so much money, but they are a complete drain on your soul in terms of, they don't leave you. They don't leave you to do your job. They're just really difficult. They're upsetting the staff, and the well-being, as we'll go on to later, is, I know that it's important to you. So it's weighing that up, isn't it? It's not just about what money you're gonna get. It's also about how it's going to fit into your business and your team.
I don't know if we've got to a point where it's easier for us because of the size that we are to say, actually, I really like working with you, but the board has changed and you're now asking for all this extra work and you're not prepared to pay for it. We may have to part ways amicably. And I have done that a few times on the basis that, you put one more bad apple into a barrel and the whole barrel becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Everything else that we do for all of our clients that do make a difference to, they have a problem because you can't devote the time to, because one bad apple's costing you. We will say, actually, I don't think we can carry on. We have done that a few times. Yeah, boards change all the time and suddenly you've got to do all this extra work. No, not happening.
Yeah.
We try to have long-term relationships with our clients. For the most part, it works really well, and we will bend over backwards for them. They don't always appreciate it all the time, but that's the way we try and work with them. But when that doesn't happen and that's not reciprocated, it's really difficult, because where's the job satisfaction then?
Oh, absolutely. And, we can have as many policies in place about, unreasonable behaviour and that sort of thing, but sometimes you just can't stop it coming in through the door, and you need to protect people and give them that job satisfaction.
We never really needed to use it much. Now, today, with the volume that we have to invoke it so often. It's quite sad, really, that people just have this expectation that they can speak to, and unfortunately, because it's over the phone, they don't know that. I'm old enough now. They're almost young kids that are working the phones and the assistants. The abuse they get, because we record every call,
right?
And I have to sign off every unreasonable behaviour policy that we invoke. And some of these calls are properly abusive, and we will do it. And we will do it to the extent that we will not communicate with them. I don't like to, and we try not to do it as much as possible, but some of it is vicious.
Yeah.
And it's not the clients. 9 out of 10 times it won't be the clients, it will be a leaseholder about almost something innocuous to us but seems to be vital to them. I don't see that changing much at the minute.
No, it's a strange world out there at the moment. Everyone seems very angry.
They're scared,
and that brings out anger. Yeah.
And who can I vent at? Well, hang on a minute. I've just had a service charge drop on my mat, and it's Christmas Day. But you get my point.
Yeah. The quarterly ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to vent, and they'll vent at the managers. So we try to protect them. We do a heck of a lot behind the scenes to allow them to take those calls, deal with them, and equally allow them to terminate calls. We don't do it that often, but I won't stand for people abusing my staff.
No.
And I have rung a few of them back, and I said, do you want me to replay this message to you? Is that fair? Is it right that you don't know the person at the other end and you're actually abusing them? If I put this in front of the police, there would be a problem.
Yeah.
And that's how bad some of it can be. And I can't be the only one. It must be with everyone.
Yeah, I think it is. It's across the board, isn't it? But, the fact that you do go out of your way then to protect your staff is admirable.
You've got to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're just going to go somewhere else. Well, I don't feel protected. They're allowing this to take place. They're saying it's the job. The job was, you never signed up. No one signs up for that.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. As the former chairman of ARMA, tell me some key lessons you learned during that time.
ARMA was a whirlwind. ARMA was never my goal. I actually had a client that said, why don't you put yourself forward for the directorship? You've always got something to say. They'll want to listen. Middle-aged white men, dare I say it, are not going to want to listen to what I've got to say. But actually, I was interviewed. It wasn't middle-aged white men that did the interview, and I actually, for the first time, I saw it as I said it as I saw it, and I thought, oh, they'll never want to listen to me. But actually, they did.
Okay.
And it was really interesting. It was so not what I thought it was. It was like-minded people that wanted to make a difference in the industry that were sitting on the board,
Nice.
which was really refreshing. Everybody had a voice. And the biggest thing I learned was I've never sat on a board. It's always been me. If I've said it, it happens.
Yeah.
And then you become part of the everything that you weren't before when you started work, and you weren't part of, well, I can't work for them, I can only work for myself, and suddenly you're sitting on a board and you're not the only voice. That was an interesting lesson. I had to learn that one really quickly, how to work with a board, but it wasn't difficult. Everyone was of like mind, especially in ARMA. We were there for the industry. We were there to put back in, and everyone, no one was paid for it. No one is paid for it, even with TPI now. And it was just great, and I really enjoyed it. Didn't think I would, but did. And then it came to, oh, well, hang on a minute, we need a new chairman. I'd gone through the process of and became, and just as that happened, it was a case of, well, hang on a minute, we need to look at, should we be merging with IRPM? Is that the right move for us? And then conversations started happening, and actually there was a lot of synergy between both what we were doing, especially as we were working on the fire safety side of it. And the organisations were both at the same governmental meetings, both saying the same thing. And it was a case of, well, if we're together, it's going to be a more powerful message. And just on one point at the beginning on your intro, yes, I was involved with the merger, but it was a proper team effort on both ends. I can't sit here and say, oh, it was me that did it. It definitely wasn't. It was a proper team effort from everyone. But even that went fairly smoothly. A lot of planning, a lot of hard work, and we're now coming out the other end of it. And TPI is a different animal. The merger of the two organisations has been good, but the sheer volume of work that we're all doing behind the scenes for members, whether they're firms or individuals, is immense, and there's a huge team behind us. We're the front end and it looks good, but behind us are all the guys doing the work, and they're doing a brilliant job.
So how was it during COVID?
Hard for everyone. I know that's easy, everyone says it was hard, but no one's been through COVID. No one had been through COVID. The first we had heard of it is we had video of guys in hazmat suits on one of our sites taking people out the building. Literally, that was our introduction to COVID.
Wow!
And then it happened really quickly, and it was about finding workarounds because we didn't have to be in lockdown because we're the quote unquote fourth emergency service, as it were. We had to keep going. And how do we do it safely? How do we get members? Everyone was scared. How do we get messages out to our members to deal with what had to be the issues related to COVID, which we did, and I think we did it really well.
You did.
The message was clear. This is how you do X. This is how you do Y. I think at that point, Nigel Glenn was doing almost weekly updates through COVID. That was hard for everyone because we didn't know either. Nobody knew what to do.
I don't think anybody had a clue, even the government at that point.
But it was about trying to give some sound advice to all the PMs as individuals and the companies on how to introduce COVID rules. I think on half the websites out there, you'll probably still find COVID-19 rules, even though now it's anyone that gets COVID, it's like, oh, well, you've got flu. Crack on. Until the next one. But at least with the next one, and there probably will be at some point, we'll know what we're doing. We'll have a better way of dealing with it. This came out of the blue. Remember how quick it was?
I mean, I think...
It seems like a distant memory.
It does. My daughter was 4 months old when we went into lockdown. So that was certainly challenging with a newborn and a business to run and all of that kind of stuff. And I think all the info, like you said about Nigel Glenn putting the weekly updates out and, the information that was coming from ARMA and IRPM at the time, it was really helpful because, as, running a business by myself at that time, it was really tough to know what to do for the best.
The lockdown was hard.
It was hard. Yeah.
We are social animals. Whatever anyone says, underneath it all, we need others, we need to be out doing. And when you're stuck at home, and even when you weren't, you had shields up in a restaurant for ages, and you had to be socially distanced. Was it February, March? You were allowed out, just allowed out, and you'd have people over, but you'd have to have it outside because that wasn't living.
No.
That was just treading water. And I think part of that's still around. People are still scared.
Yeah.
It's just not COVID, but people don't quite realise they still have those problems, and that feeds through into the leaseholders.
Yeah, of course it does. You know, there's a lot of scary things going on, and it's carried on from COVID, hasn't it? And it's gone then into, you know, the cost of living crisis and everything, and you know, we're just getting battered for it left, right, and centre.
But a lot of people aren't back at work. There's that hybrid working where you're at home and you see the light bulb out in the common parts, and it has to be done now.
Yeah.
And so it puts more pressure on us as an industry to up our game. And that's still an issue. And that's not going to go away, because I don't think that people are going to be back at work full time, even though they may want us there. The hybrid working models will shift. I still think there's going to be a move back to the office, but nothing like pre-COVID.
So flipping it then back, you mentioned the environmental and social working group, and I mentioned it in the intro, but can you tell me a bit about your role there and the significance of it?
There's two sides of it, and it's actually probably one of the biggest parts of the roles that were handed out at TPI, because it's so big. It's huge. On the one side, we're doing a huge wellbeing side of TPI, which I'll come on to in a second. And on the other side, it's all about the political side of net zero, which has, thank goodness, gone quiet over the last few months because of changes of government, but that's coming back in, and they're ramping that up really quite quickly. But on the wellbeing side, we wanted to have, because of all of the brain drain from the industry and trying to attract talent in the industry, to make firms that are member firms have a wellbeing policy for their staff. And it took a long time to get to a position where we had a wellbeing policy that could be adopted by even smaller firms. And we've got a number of early adopters that are looking at it and looking at adopting it, and we're beta testing it at the moment. But it is coming. Every firm, almost no matter what size, should have some form of wellbeing policy, or be able to pick and choose bits of the policy that they need for their own staff and their own needs. Clearly, the bigger firms are going to have their own policies anyway. But it's about the small and medium size and small firms where there's a policy, there's a guidance note, there's templates, and if you haven't put a policy in place, you should do, and eventually I hope that we'll go through a stage where it's almost audited that you do, for the well-being of the staff. I've read I'm a convert. I read lots of reports from much bigger organisations that have run this right through their company, and the good that it's done for the employees and the companies outweighs any costs and time involved in putting it together. So one of the issues that we had was, how much time is it going to take away from day-to-day management? And so we've tried to do it in a way that there's a standard, there's the guidance note, and all the templates. You can literally pick and choose what you will to put into your own policy. So it's there, tailor-made for anyone to use. Some of it's legal, you have to. Some of it's nice to have, and some of it you should have, and you pick and choose how you want to adopt it. So that's the wellbeing side, and that's coming out. We're beta testing, so it's literally in the process of being rolled out to everyone voluntarily, and that's coming soon. And on the other side, the net zero, the move, I know we've had a change of government, but there is still a move to net zero. It's about how we get there. I mean, every second conference that we go to, somewhere someone's talking about the move to net zero. How do we get there? How do we help influence government? So TPI are trying to influence government to get us there, because that's where they want to go. But how do we do it? TPI. And on the other side of it, so for example, I sit with Ofgem on their working group. It's a slightly dry subject, but nonetheless, it's very important about how they deal with heat networks in large developments.
Okay.
They're coming up with all kinds of regulations, and it's about trying to make sure that whatever they do put in, we can actually work with as an industry. There's nothing like another raft of legislation that you can't actually work because it's not fit for purpose.
Yeah.
So on that side of it, we're trying to work. How are they introducing regulation?
Okay.
Quite dry, but if you're in a big scheme of 1,000 units and you've got an ESCO and you've suddenly got a raft of this legislation, you just can't make work. We're trying to influence that. I think we've done quite well with some of it. They didn't quite understand some of the bits, but they're willing to learn, which is half the battle.
Yeah. So with TPI, are they trying to influence government as well around lease conditions, for example? Like lease conditions, most of the time, not all of the time, because every lease is different, will say that you can't improve, you can just repair and maintain.
Correct.
So is there a push from TPI into government to say that needs to be done?
The last government, even though they rushed in some of the legislation at the last hour, understood that there was an issue with leasehold.
Yeah.
With this, I can't make an improvement. How are you supposed to then put all this obligation on me as a landlord to put this in and recover through a service charge?
Yeah.
We hope that they will very simply put an implied term into the legislation to allow for improvements, which are very much still dealt with as a consumer protection, but nonetheless gives a landlord the obligation to and the ability to undertake repairs and improvements to deal with net zero.
Okay.
I mean, how do you take an old mansion block, forget the improvements and actually improvements clause, and then actually try and bring it down to net zero? It's very difficult.
Especially if it's listed. It's a whole other avenue of drama.
There are a lot of pitfalls that the government are going to have to work through if they want to get to net zero. I can't remember the statistics themselves, but the amount of usage of electricity that's wasted and non-renewable energy that's wasted on old mansion blocks, as an example, or our general flatted stock, other than the really new buildings that are coming through, is enormous. And they are going to have to do something with them. But it's going to be very expensive.
And they're going to have to influence local councils as well.
There's all kinds of things. And who's going to pay for it?
Well,
it's about consumer protection and not loading leaseholders with more service charge cost. It was a case of originally that leaseholders won't have to pay for fire-related works and your service charges won't go up. But they have, and they did. If they're going to have to be very careful how they bring this in, what kind of grants they're giving. They are there, but not for the cost of air source heat pumps, replacing gas-fired boilers. The capital cost is enormous. Those costs have to come down first. But the grants are there, but just to assess what kind of work you need to do. Now try and get a grant for actually putting in the capital cost of putting in an air source heat pump, as an example. Very difficult.
No, I agree. It's going to be a long, challenging battle, I think.
Everyone's looking at EV charging points as an example, and that's lovely and it works really well, unless you extend it by 5 years. But hey ho, we will get there. But it's the rest of it. It's these bad oil fire. I've even got some schemes that have just moved from, in the last 5 to 10 years, from oil fired to gas fired, and now we're moving from gas fired to air source heat pumps. And having the space to do it.
Well, that is another challenge as well.
And how do you retain the heat in the buildings? That's the big thing. It's one thing having gas coming through, but if it's efficient, great. If it's an inefficient building, how are you putting in all those extra layers in front of your flat? Are you going to rip out your flat and have to put it in? There's a lot for the government to think about.
Well, it sounds like, have you got any influence on them as part of TPI?
TPI do. A large part of TPI, and this wasn't the case up until Grenfell and changes, is dealing with government, trying to influence how these new rules are coming in. How can we actually make it effective for all members as an industry to run the rules? I mean, some of the new rules that they rushed in at the end are unworkable. So there are going to have to be changes. I work on a tiny bit of it, but the secretariat behind us do the real heavy lifting.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, I think that's something that's not known about TPI, that, or about ARMA and IRPM previously, that, there is a lot of work being done behind the scenes in order to look after us as property managers, and to make sure that leaseholders are also protected around, their service charges and protecting their buildings, because you are liaising with government. And I think then that maybe there needs to be more education around that as well.
A lot of TPI is literally down to working with government, and a lot of the Building Safety Act work that was done did influence some of what came through, just to make it easier to operate on a national level.
Yeah.
I know there are some people out there that say that we're not doing the right job. There are other organisations that say that we aren't fit for purpose, but I think we are. We do have the consumer in mind. We do have our leaseholders in mind when we go into battle on some of these things, because some of them are just going to cost money for leaseholders.
Yeah.
Who's got the money to pay for it now?
Well, exactly, and in turn, by ensuring that you do that, you're ensuring the safety, or you're protecting the mental health as well of the property managers, because
Correct.
If you look after one, you're going to look after, automatically going to be looking after the other. So yeah, I think it's great, and it actually comes on quite nicely that, in your experience, and this is a question that I ask most of my guests, common misconceptions about the industry. Any thoughts on what people, I guess, don't understand about what we do? We've just touched on it with TPI, but as what we do as property managers, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, the biggest misconception is that the service charge that we send out is what the managing agent's fee is.
Yes, good one.
That's it. I mean, 9 out of 10 people think I'm paying MLM, I'm being ripped off by MLM or ABC or PhD company, and that £2,500 is our fee. And we're all sitting there driving around in Ferraris, and we go to Cannes 3 to 4 times a year. No, that doesn't happen.
No.
The margins for property management are extremely thin. Our fee is very small compared to the total management fee. And I think where we as an industry, I'll go back to it, saying that X pounds that we charge for our fee needs to be explained in a lot more detail to the customer. And the minute you start doing that and they actually see what they're getting for that fee, most of them then start to, the cogs tick, and they actually say, oops, and backtrack. But we're not very good at that comms piece. I have started to see it change in the last year or two, where people are starting to say, actually, this is what we do for our money. Do you want to increase our fee now? Do you think that that's reasonable? And it isn't. And the more companies do that, the more we change this culture of what we do for our money as an industry. Got to be the way forward.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of misconceptions around what we do and how we do it. And I think that is definitely one that, you get I pay you X amount of money, as you say, but they don't, they're paying to maintain their building. A very small line in that budget goes to managing agents.
I pay your wages.
Yeah.
You do, but you pay us to do a job of work. And that's exactly what we do. Have a go at us if we don't.
Hold your hands up.
No problem with that.
Yeah.
But don't batter the staff just because you've got a problem that perhaps you haven't changed the light bulb in 10 minutes. If it's been 6 months, have a pop. I have no problem with that. I will come back after a problem that's been resolved and say, guys, we really didn't do that very well. What do we need? What are the learning outcomes from that? How can we make it better? Or actually, we did that really well. They just haven't realised.
Yeah. It's a very instant world now, isn't it?
They're all home.
Yeah.
Change that light bulb now. Moment.
Yeah.
And you can't. Or the famous one is, well, it's in the middle of a storm. Can you come and fix the roof? I've got a leak. And then when you say no, then they get really angry. And then you try and explain why. They still want you on a roof in the middle of the night, lashing storm to fix their leak. Not a lot you can do.
Well, I know, yeah. And, contractors are pretty busy at the moment with the the weather conditions.
Anything that can leak will leak.
Absolutely. Or flood.
Or flood.
Yeah.
Or flood.
So, final question, mentoring younger professionals. Is that something that you do or you're interested in doing? Or, especially those who may have faced bullying potentially, can you can share a lived experience, can't you, with stuff like that?
Everybody in my position or slightly underneath that's been around for years and years has seen, no one's seen everything, has seen many things, and those experiences need to be shared. We are looking at TPI, it's very embryonic, but we're looking at some form of mentoring scheme. Nice. It's about how we do it, what we do with it, how we can integrate it. And it's probably going to be about how and when we can get and pair people up and how we pair people up. The problem is a lot of companies hoard and are very secretive, A, with their staff, B, with their clients. And so if you've got a mentor from another firm and a mentee from another firm and they're working together, it can cause a problem. And so we're literally working through that minefield of how do we do it so that when you strip it back, you've got someone that needs help and you've got someone that can give time and do it so that you're not getting into a coaching position. And we have to be very careful how we do the mentoring process because it's about a shared experience. Okay. And what we offer, but we're trying to bring something in. We're just working through the details now. But that's probably into next year. But definitely, we mentor here. We have a buddy system here as well for new people that come in. No matter what level they're in, they still need another buddy to work through. Some need them for longer, some need them for shorter periods. We've got all kinds of systems in here to bring the staff on, and we want to try and spring that out over an industry. And the easiest way is to mentor.
And sometimes you just need to say something out loud for it to make sense to you. And you just need that person to bounce an idea off. You don't need ongoing coaching, as you say. You just need somebody to have your back for 5 minutes.
It can be a 5-minute thing. It can be a much longer thing. It just depends upon what the thing is and are there people that we can match up and how do we match them up. We're definitely working on it. There's definitely a market out there for younger people coming into the industry that just need a helping hand as opposed to their own bosses that may not be able to feel comfortable going to. They may need mentoring in a different way. We're going to come up with a solution for that because there's definitely a market for it as a member benefit of TPI.
Okay. And I'm going to sneak in one last question.
Go on.
What legacy do you hope to leave in the property industry?
With the work I've done at TPI, that I've left the industry in a better place than when I came into it. Genuinely, is it a better place to work? Have I done anything to make it a different place and a better place for the people that are working in it? That's really what it's about. At TPI, we're all giving up our time. We're not being paid for it. We're just there to give up our time to do exactly that.
Great answer. Thank you so much for indulging me with let me ask you all of these questions. I really appreciate it. If somebody wants to contact you, what's the best way of doing so?
My email address, if you want to put that onto your...
I'll put it on the show notes.
On the show. I'm happy to take emails from people. That's the best way to get hold of me.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my latest podcast. You can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. The links are in the show notes. Or you can contact me on jodie@jodiefraser.com. For more content and updates, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on your favourite platforms. Thank you once again for listening. Until next time, take care.